It's tough to read any kind of reaction from him because you can see so little of his face to begin with, and it's not like he's doing anime style like, oh, like, shock reactions when you hit him with something hard.
And he looks like the Emperor.
Yes, and he has lightning fingers. I'm so glad he's back in 9. Let's not talk about that. Spoilers.
Don't spoil a terrible movie for me.
Yes.
Are we talking about this? Are we talking to the Senate right now?
Yes. This has been more, I bet, like negotiations and political stuff than you expected when you started this campaign.
I want diplomatic immunity.
No, that's Lethal Weapon. That's different.
It's treason, then.
So he says in reply, I have heard about what happened to Faust, yes. Interesting. The Empress willing to go to such lengths. But I must ask you, why would I believe you this time? The deal you presented last time seemed fine on the surface, but I've heard nothing from Black Harbor since then, to the point where I think it was just a ruse to come and meet me. So when you come peddling a new deal for me, why exactly should I be prepared to accept it?
Well, I'll admit, I had 2 agendas the last time I was here. One was to see if perhaps I could secure a deal, although I will fully admit that I've had very little time to get back and even discuss things with my mother. I did send her a letter, and I haven't heard from her myself. But also recognize that I wasn't aware of your connections to Faust or what Faust was doing, and that caused a bit of a, let's just say, an obstacle in my ability to deal in other diplomatic avenues. This is the sort of thing that takes priority, I hope you understand. The security of the Empire is of the utmost importance, especially if I'm going to be dealing with any of its members. I wasn't even aware of who my companion here, Isaac Dryden, was at the time. Such things have been revealed to me, which is why I am here now. The context for our previous negotiation changed, and the context for your place here and Faust Dryden's place in this empire has also changed. I suggest we work towards building something amenable going forward.
You have a silver tongue, boy. No question about it. Skills on par with my own, but it's difficult to pull the wool over the eyes of a deceiver. You say you didn't know who your companion was last time you were here. I know that to not be true. For you see, when you were passing him in the hallway, before he took a shot at my head, you said something that I thought was very interesting at the time. You said Dryden. Now, to me that name has significant meaning, considering my association with him in the past, but the vigilante being Faust Dryden seemed too ridiculous to even entertain the notion. So who else could it have been then, I thought to myself. That's when I started to put the pieces together. Ask around a bit, see who I might have been dealing with. And lo and behold, I was able to broker some additional terms with Faust Dryden. In exchange for information on your whereabouts and your dealings, he was quite interested to know that you had been here and where you might be headed next. So I improved my position with him a bit. If you want me to believe that there is a deal waiting for me, you're going to have to do much better than this because, quite frankly, Faust scares me a lot more than you do. Even when you've come here with those that you have surrounding you, and he's kind of giving this glare to Gothak at this point. Looks over at me and says, I am disappointed, Gothak. I thought you had known to steer clear of this place. Our arrangement is tenuous at best, but for the most part, since you operated quietly within my city and the people seemed to like you and it kept them from grouching about everything, I thought that was fine, but coming forward today is a dangerous look for you. Gothak just kind of looks him over and he says, well, talk of silver tongues. I'm not interested in bantering with you, Witwer. Take the deal or don't, it matters not to me.
Okay, all right, Witwer. Look, I don't have the gift of the silver tongue, like my friend Tessin here, but you seem to be a fan of speaking plainly, and that's more my style anyway. So earlier you asked, Oh God, where was I going with this?
Silver tongue, no!
See, I established that I don't have it. You asked what the difference was between this deal and last deal, and I would say last time the deal was a choice that you could make. This time there is no choice. Think of it as more of a lifeline. You can either take the deal and have the only real shot at continuing your life, if that's what you call it here, barring your front door with 18 different locks, or you can not take the deal and you'll get just burned to the ground, either by us or by my father. Your question of who scares you more, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, we can both kill you, so it's up to you. Do you want your life to continue or not?
He says, "It's a hell of a thing, though. The man who tried to shoot me in the head last time I was here, now saying that he wants to find a peaceful resolution to it. If I am to go against Faust Dryden, the most powerful man this world has known, even if it were to work out and he were somehow to be held responsible for what he's done, who's to say you wouldn't just put a bullet in my head afterwards?"
Well, this time, Cavis is in the room, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have Vanguard on the behalf of the Empress, and I'm sure it's a simple enough matter of writing whatever immunity documentation we need, though it sickens me to say. This is not a ruse. If it was a ruse, there's a number of other things we could have done. My preference would have been to sneak in and kill you. Honestly, I had a whole plan ready to go, but I listened to my friend Tessian. He wanted to do things the right way, and I think Cavis probably agrees with that. Don't you, Cavis? So, we can get the paperwork written up. It's up to you.
He just, Cavis just grunts an affirmation, as you say that, by the way, doesn't contribute anything else.
I'm sure he hates it as much as I do.
Yeah.
Faust, or Witwer, we're after Faust. There was a time when you were the face of what was corrupt in this empire, but not anymore. You're small change.
Yeah, you're small
We'd
fry.
love to have, we'd love to have you on our side against Faust Dryden, and if you're so afraid of him, I mean, what aren't you afraid of at this point?
You just
You're gonna
revealed
stand for something.
you're as much of a pawn as anyone else. Don't you have some ambition?
This gets the first visible reaction that you've seen from the limited part of the face you can, which is a sneer. He says, "It's all well and good to stroll into my manor for the second time, threaten me again, just like you did Count Zillin. And then what? What are you going to use to back up your words? You're going to shoot me in the head again if I don't cooperate? You're going to drag me out of this room, past a manor full of guards? Now, I admit, they're hired men, sell swords. Individually, I don't think they're really up to snuff, especially against someone like Cavis." And you can hear like the derision dripping from his voice when he says that name. "But I'm willing to bet that their sheer numbers would be enough to inflict quite a bit of damage on your group. Maybe you could best them, maybe you couldn't. I don't honestly know."
God, not if they could hear this conversation. I don't know if they'd really want to fight for you then.
"Oh, I think they're quite suitably compensated to do so. They can endure a bit of verbal abuse for the coin that lines their pockets. That said, I would also rather this not become something ridiculously bloody and messy. I don't know what this world looks like once Faust goes on trial. I don't think it's as guaranteed as you think it does that you can pin this on him, even if I do testify. I'm a little bit surprised that you underestimate him, so you speak of me being a pawn. You're a pawn yourself. If you knew what your father had said to me, you would recognize the irony of your words. But that's neither here nor there."
The only part I disagree with you on is that we're aware that we're pawns. So, well, I guess I agree in a weird way. The one thing we do agree on is that we know we're pawns. That's part of the problem. That's why we need this trial to bring this all to light.
And to be clear, Witwer, we're not necessarily here to threaten your life. I'm well aware that you're skilled enough to probably make a number of escapes and survive on your own. We're here to threaten your power and position.
Exactly.
We stand here on behalf of the Empress of this empire, with which you are a small part of. What you're discussing here, turning away from her and working with Faustridon, is treason. If you want to lose all of this, then turn us down and join him. You might live for a good long while. You might even find some life outside the Empire. But if you like this place, all these things that you have, if you want to remain here, then work for us. Work with us. Otherwise, it's war.
If I may,
Who is this?
I am Crash, Paladin of Court.
Of the Thunder.
Yes. But it dawns on me that it dawns on me, whatever. Yeah, sure.
He knows dawn. He understands sunrise.
Fair enough. You believe Faustridon is extremely powerful and dangerous, correct?
I do, yes. And to young Mr. Black's point about treason, he's right insofar as what I have done over these years could be seen as treason. But the only way for that to be followed through on is if the Empress is actually sitting in power when this is all said and done. If she is removed, then her sway holds no power over me.
Do you
Okay.
have some reason to believe that her seat in power is threatened?
Why, that sounds like something that I should leave on the negotiating table to improve my terms, doesn't it?
I suppose, but you're also not in the best position for leveraging terms. We've kind of given you the terms that you have.
And if you think we're not aware that her position is in jeopardy, then you do underestimate what it is we know about Faust's plan.
Oh no, I think you're fully aware of what it means. It's just I think you're underestimating her chances of emerging on the other side of this unscathed. That's all. Seems to me like you think the outcome of this trial is already known, that the evidence that you think you have is enough to hold Faustridon's toes to the fire and watch him squirm. Faustridon is not a man who squirms. So, to your point, Dragonborn, yes, the prospect of Faustridon, even captured and under the Empress's care, does concern me more than all of you in this room, and the hurt that you could impose upon me. Now, that's not to say that I don't find you to be capable fighters, or that I think that I have absolute control of what's happening here. I'll admit, my back is a bit against the wall here. When you first came here, I was already a bit wary, having seen what happened to poor Edward Zillan, murdered in cold blood in his own house. So I was not caught unawares when you visited last time, nor am I completely surprised by your presence this time. Perhaps the show of force is more than I was expecting. Perhaps having Cavus the Vigilant here in person is not a play I would have expected. But at the end of the day, both sides are at risk here. You and me. So, I do think terms will have to improve a bit. Otherwise, we'll call the guardsmen and we'll see what happens.
I was just using that to point out that your mercenaries and your illusion magic, whatever it is you're hiding behind here, is not for Faustridon. It is to protect you from us. Clearly, because he would simply, I don't know, call down a meteor to destroy your castle or whatever. But because I know what meteors are, I don't know, whatever.
They killed the dinosaurs.
Hey, that's a little costo.
Why are you Spanish?
No me gusta.
No me gusta meteors.
But if you do not need to protect yourself from us. That is at least one less thing to worry about and that much less money to spend on soldiers.
He says,
Tell us,
Go ahead.
Witwer, what is it that you think needs to happen for this negotiation to be tangible?
I need to ensure that I'm taken care of. Now, I am no fool. I recognize that part of my cooperation here will almost certainly mean that either Faust gets out of these charges and kills me for trying to go against him, or the Empress actually succeeds at this bold plan of hers and Faust is put to death, or whatever crimes he's done have a punishment coming for him. I don't much know, but if the Empress succeeds, she'll have me removed. And I suppose that can't be helped. I've maybe taken things a little too far in my time here, but damn if it wasn't worth it. So, while I don't expect to come back to Falstock and keep things the way they were before, I suspect the Empress is probably too cross with me for that. I would like to still be financially well off enough to go slink off somewhere and live out the rest of my days accustomed to the same standard of living that I'm used to this point. It's not just enough to have immunity. I'm looking for something more than that.
Coin, you mean?
Sure, if a lot of it, yes.
Well, we're here to negotiate.
Are you? Your companion said there were no further terms.
His zealousness gets the better of him.
Yeah, I don't know that it does. What are we willing to give here? What, the keys to a brand new criminal empire so he can continue operating in the same way he's been doing now and hurting? Look at this town. He's destroyed it.
We're here to see what it is you would like. We could then go back to the Empress and see what her thoughts are. So tell us what it is you would need to cooperate, and if she deems it unacceptable, then you might very well not have anything to lock up the next time we meet.
I'm looking for something real quick. Forgive me. There it is.
I looked to Lena. I'm like, "Look, can you believe this, guys? What's on the table is sexual favors for maybe earning enough money to buy some drugs on the street, and there's cardboard box. Cardboard's probably not a thing they had back then. Or getting to, somewhat operate the way that he was before. Unbelievable.
I agree.
Who is this? Wait a minute. Don't I recognize you? Actually, let's see if he does. You look familiar to me. Weren't you with Tessian last time, too? What? the ruse you tried to play against me. It really is remarkable.
I don't believe I tried.
Yeah, tried to play.
I believe it succeeded. Little did you know that you were in the presence of one of the royalty of the Sowenwood. And you will, fucking, what's the word? Address her as such.
Well,
this is Princess Lena Sibelquist.
I did learn about that later. Certainly did not know at the time, but once I had you watched, that was something that came to my attention. It's all the more reason why, when you say there's no risk for you here, I tend to disagree. However, I do not mean for that to be a threat. I recognize your importance, and it's not quite as snide as it was when you referred to Cavus, but there's still a little bit of sarcasm to it. He's acknowledging it, but he's also like, I don't really give a damn. I'm an asshole. That's the tone. He says, look, I'll level with you. Sure, why not? Your one friend here seems to have picked up on the fact that I may or may not actually be here, per se. Seems to be more clever than he lets on. And guns are a powerful thing indeed. Not many people have access to them, and your hot-headed friend here seems to be quite proficient with them, and Tessian, your family has clout, and the Conatus is a journey of great importance, so all of you carry some weight, and that does add up. It is not insignificant when I weigh the scales of what I am facing here. It's just I think that Faust Dryden tips it despite all of your weight against him. Now, perhaps my testimony would be the thing that tips it in the other direction. I don't know. On the one hand, I have some information about his dealings, but not as much as you might hope. As you, and he looks at Isaac, should already be aware, Faust doesn't exactly put all of his eggs in one basket. So I know a bit about what he was doing in this region, but across the rest of the continent, your guess is as good as mine. So my information might be helpful, but the last thing I want is for me to actually agree to this, and then you to find my testimony to be lacking. I can vouch against his character, I can speak to some of his business arrangements, but probably nothing that's going to be that serious. And I certainly don't want to get a bullet in the head once you decide that my testimony wasn't good enough, even if it's as good as it can be.
I don't need to put a bullet in your head. You know what? This is the bullet's in your head already. It's not coming from me. It's coming from Faust Dryden. We don't need to deal with this guy. He barely knows anything anyways. Underselling his own negotiation, first of all. Secondly, we just tell Faust that he offered some information. We tell him that he tried to testify against him. He'd dig his own grave. If he's not going to help with the terms that we provided, we just say he did, and he can fend for himself.
I mean, at the end of the day, Thorogood, you're not convincing us you have anything to offer right now. And it's looking like we are better off just bringing you in and seeing what we can force or turn up. So as far as the negotiations go, this is not going in your favor.
Tessie and Cavis, I don't even know that we bother bringing him in. He's a... what's the term? Cooked goose. What do we bother? The noose. We give him enough rope. He's tied it himself. What do people see? Our intrepid 4, 5, 10 now walked into Witwer Thorogood's mansion. I'm sure my father still has eyes and ears everywhere. We say he helped us. And if he doesn't want to, then he doesn't have to. So that's fine. I don't think we need to arrest him. He can either help or he's a dead man.
And Tessian actually just kind of turns back to Cavis, sort of like oh yeah, we're not talking to Witwer anymore kind of thing. And it's just sort of like, Isaac sort of makes the point. He's offering us absolutely nothing, and even what little he's offering, he's not convincing me that it's worth anything. Isaac might be right. I think he might be too afraid of Faust to be of any use to us at this point. And he's clearly afraid of him for a reason. Probably because he knows he's already dead. Perhaps we should just leave.
This is the point where Witwer kind of interjects. He says, that all might be true, yes. There's some merit to it. But there's one part of the equation that you haven't factored in. You continue to boast of having all the cards in play. And yet, just like last time, you don't. And the fact that you don't see that undermines your own position. It's hilarious, to an extent, to come in and talk so brazenly into my house, into my place of living, and think that you know everything that's around you, everything at your disposal, everything that's happening in the world. Forgetting the part where all of what you said is wrong if Faust is not actually held accountable for his crimes. But let's say that it does happen. What if a certain person were to testify on his behalf instead of against him? What if a certain person had eyes on a group that helped in his capture and could prove that their dealings in Lycidian led to the death of another man, that they had a bias against Faust Dryden from the start, a rogue element in the city? Wouldn't that undermine the people that had captured him in the first place?
From a criminal like he... no, I don't.
A criminal through whose eyes, exactly?
Do you think the Empress doesn't know what you're up to? I'm curious.
I legitimately don't. I think she has some idea. I think she knows that the taxes here are a little high on people. But what crime have I committed? Dare I ask? I've been a bad ruler, sure. Mean to my people. Have I killed anyone? Have I stolen from anyone? Have I attacked anyone within my city? What exactly do you expect to hold me on as far as charges? The thing you're forgetting about nobility in this country is that they currently hold all the cards. It's what's allowed me to get to this position in the first place. So the thought that you're just going to bring me in and slather my name with accusations, on what ground? And if you have justified your position as being the correct one, and you yourself had committed a crime, how would that hold water exactly?
We would stand trial for our crime in the same way that we are asking Faust to. Then if we're innocent, we're innocent. I'm not here to play this little game of blackmail. It's tiresome. And speaks of someone who has not spoken with the Empress face to face and been honest and upfront with her. If she asked us something, we would tell her the truth. We would speak to our intentions, and we would let that stand because we respect her authority, unlike you. She will recognize that. The people in this room will recognize that, and they will testify as such. You are standing in a room of people who can verify our intent and who can discredit your own. So you're more than welcome to silence that, but then you won't have the credibility that you claim you'll have. So again, are you with us? Are you against us? Or do you have some sort of reasonable ask? Or we're leaving right now, and we will come back with whatever the Empress has deemed necessary.
You get kind of a gruff, well said from Cavus, who seems to have liked you standing up for the Empress.
Oh.
Yay!
If this was a Telltale game, it'd be like, Cavus will remember that. There is this kind of pregnant pause. And the silence is sort of deafening in its own way. You can kind of hear like somebody shifting their weight in the background as you wait momentarily for a response.
The guard outside the door like, ugh!
Yeah. Roger, Roger.
Roger.
Everybody make a perception check.
Okay.
Delightful.
And I guess we do have two others in the room here. That's pretty good.
Natural one.
That's
I
pretty
am
bad.
so on. I'm like looking at him. I'm
You're
like,
too passionate right now. You're not thinking clearly.
11.
14.
I'm so loyal to the
Big
crown.
money, big money,
right
big
now.
money, big money. Oh, that's not big
14.
money.
That's a whammy. And Tessia, make me an intimidation check.
Okay, that's a little better, but like not really.
It's as
Not
good
if
as
it's
you
a
roll.
one again.
Oh, God.
It's
No,
not
it was a
one.
2 that time.
Yeah.
It was a 2.
Okay.
Good old 5.
This is too late. I should have asked before, but like, can I help him? I've like been here supporting the same thing. I don't know if it's too late, but
Sure.
I'm helping you. I'm looking really. My guns, he can see them.
He's not intimidated by you.
Okay. no, he's not. You're right.
God, I mean, he's improving, guys.
Gosh, I didn't roll a 2 that time.
We're-
I rolled a 3.
We're going baby steps up the ladder here, but by God, we're going to make it someday.
That's so passionate. And this guy's just like, I don't fucking care
He's
about
too
this kid.
passionate. He's like blustering. I don't know. I don't buy it.
Oh man.
He says, Witwer says, all right. I'll go with you. Why not? On behalf of testifying, you'll still guarantee immunity. Forget the comfortable living thing. Immunity is a deal breaker. If you can't protect me, then I have no interest in testifying to anyone.
The disgust on my face right now should let you know that, yes, immunity is on the table.
I don't know. You've been disgusted half the time we've been in here. It's hard to tell.
Oh, you're a disgusting guy, but, I'm trying.
Cavis,
I do
you
wanna-
promise immunity? And Tessie will look to Cavis. Tessie doesn't think he'll trust us, but
Kava says, we can promise protection. We can promise as much protection as we can offer. You know as well as I do that there may not be any guarantees with Faust Dryden, but...
Am I close enough to Cavis to elbow him?
Hey, Cavis is a straight shooter.
I did roll a 21 insight, Chris, just on when he said, I'll go with you, and, whatever. I want to...
From what little of his face you can see, doesn't seem to be giving off any tells
Okay.
as far as like a tick or something that might designate that he's lying.
Okay.
Seems straightforward enough. What was Cavis saying? Right. Says, we'll do everything we can. It's in our best interest, too. If for some reason something were to happen and you can't make it to the stand to testify, then it's of no help to us either. So we have a mutual interest, I guess you could say. And you can also kind of tell that there's like some disgust on his voice, too. Like he's not thrilled about this either, but he recognizes it as an ends to a mean. A means to an end. I think I've done that twice on this show backwards. It's fine. And Witwer says, all right. Now, I don't want anybody to get jumpy, and he's looking at Isaac again. But it will not surprise you to learn that the gentleman standing before you is not actually me. I didn't want to tell him this, but if you had shot me in the head again, it actually would have killed him. So, good on you for not doing that.
What a loyal subject. Who are we actually talking to?
He says, oh, just another of my men. Someone I...
Just another disposable guard.
And you can see, like, the person who's been sitting in the chair before you, there's, like, a bit of, like, hand tremble now. Like, he's like, uh-oh. And you eventually, with, let's see, who had the highest perception there? 14. Isaac, you hear what sounds like metal footsteps from below.
Okay.
And after a moment passes, you hear what sounds like a hatch opening underneath this giant desk where Witwer sits. And a second Witwer Thorogood emerges, dusting himself off from having climbed out of what appears to be some kind of secret compartment.
My face is like completely nonplussed, and it's like you said, don't get jumpy. It's quite the opposite. What is this the real one, or is your skin gonna fall off and then the third one's gonna come up?
He says, I thought about that. I thought it might be fun to have a double-blind test or something where it's the real Witwer, it's not. It's the real Witwer, it's not. But
would have been just as enjoyable for us, believe me.
It's so tedious.
the truth is the extra illusions weren't necessary. It was just to buy time for the guards to get here, but since I'm not calling them, I suppose it's not necessary anymore. And you see him kind of like push the shoulder of the guy next to him, and you watch as the illusion fades on him, and he goes back to being the guard, kind of clad in the same black armored look that a lot of the other guards have that are relatively interchangeable. As you know from your last visit here, they're all pretty much equal on playing field. There's no like captain of the guard or anything. They're all paid equally such that their loyalty is all equal. But just some regular schmuck who, you cast detect magic. So yeah, Witwer had been using seeming. That was not what he was using the last time you were here, but you don't really know that.
Yeah.
But you do know the bullet went through his head and didn't hit anything, so it must have been something different.
All right, well, you should come with us. Let's hit the road here. And you, pointing to the guard, should really find another job. I hope that that's clear by now. And Isaac's done.
Witwer's like, yes, well, you did fulfill your contract, so off you go then. And the guy kind of looks around, doesn't say anything, but he seems content to scurry off.
Like, if he can get out, they locked us in.
Yeah, and he goes to the door and he tries to open it. It doesn't open. And Witwer goes,
You wanna?
"Ah, yes, of course.
Yeah.
All right, we're coming out. Actually, I have a better way to do this if you'll permit me to do something at my desk. Tell you what, you can train your gun on me while I do it. How's that sound?"
Yeah, go for it.
And he pushes that button. I actually think he did push it last time. And because I'm pretty sure that was the intercom system. I have to go back and watch that episode to make sure, but pushes the button and says, "All right, everyone. There are some nice gentlemen and ladies escorting me outside the building. Don't attack them or anything. I know we discussed some options here, but I am going with them willingly. So stand down." And he takes his finger off the button.
Oh, they get to live. How nice for them.
Well, not much point in spilling their blood. Doesn't do me any good.
Bad investment.
Right. So you're a better businessman than you thought you were. All right, then. Very well. Lead on.
I imagine we will let... Ooh, do we let Cavus lead?
I would like Cavus lead.
I imagine... I don't want to take my eyes off of him. Like, I've got Counterspell just, like, so ready. So I'm going to be falling behind him the
I
whole
think
time.
I will too. Yeah.
So.
If there was, like, cameras and stuff, I'd want us to be up front, but, like, there's not, so I don't care. I don't care
I'll
about the
be in-
optics so much.
I'll be in the front and I'll put my my cranky face on
Oh,
as
shit.
we leave.
The crazy
I just want to
face.
be as intimidating possible so that no mercenary thinks they're going to be like, I think my boss will be happy if I decide to fire a bolt off into this group.
Yeah, like, oh, I could get a raise, yeah. Like,
Whitwer said this, but I know he means the opposite.
The only raise you will be receiving today is that of Cord ascending your soul to whatever. I actually know it would be descending. It doesn't matter. It's not good.
It's okay.
It's bad.
We get where you're
Yeah.
going. The metaphor's
If you-
fine. It's a solid
Lots of
one.
bolts thrown.
So with
I'm confused. I'm still trying to figure out what the fuck poultry has to do with anything.
I know.
So
I saw your face.
with Cavus,
Yes.
Cavus and Witwer in the front, headed out of the office and down the stairs.
Mhm.
I don't want to make a big deal out of this. Is there any obvious paperwork on the desk? Or is it just clear?
You can investigate the room if you want.
I don't want to investigate. Well, like if an
Like, on the
investigation
surface?
check
No.
just lets me look at the desk, then that's fine.
The desk, no.
Okay.
On the surface, no. The desk, just like last time, is pretty well organized. And unlike everything else in the building, his office does seem to have that order and reason to it, with the way things are stashed and everything's meant to look a certain way. It seems that his slovenliness when it came to the rest of his possessions didn't extend to his office, and as such, the desktop is pretty much clear. It has a writing implement and
Yeah.
a couple of books, but nothing like papers.
I'm just gonna leave. I don't really want like misbegotten evidence to be a hamper for this trial, so I'm just gonna leave.
Okay.